Hello, happy Monday, everybody. No allusion to Bez of the Happy Mondays, but just have a happy Monday. I hope everyone will do. I've just been into town to sell an Xbox controller to CEX. They gave me like 20 quid. Controller cost me 50 quid, but they gave me 20 quid for it. But I don't need it because my smart TV can't connect to the internet in the hospital as a guest Wi-Fi network, which is captive. So I can't play Xbox games on my new telly. Third world problems. Just ordered myself some more vapes so that I don't run out of those. So I'm trying to stop smoking cigarettes. I read an article the other day and it was fucking brilliant, really thought-provoking and engaging, and I posted it on Facebook, but I'm just going to read through it because I just thought it was probably one of the best bits of journalism that I'd read. It's not depressing, it's not really about anything sad, it's about the way that we think as human beings and a very progressive and engaging manner in which to look at the human psyche, and I think I found it to be quite enlightening. So I'm going to share it with you by reading it, which is probably really boring and won't get you very many views, but it's still really good. The article is titled, "Without Philosophy, Einstein Said He Would Have Contributed Nothing. Why Einstein Credited Philosophy for His Scientific Resolution." It was written by Massimo Pigliucci. I don't know, some of the names in this I'm probably going to pronounce wrong. I did read the article and I had to check, but don't worry about that. Without philosophical thought, Einstein claimed he would have contributed nothing to science, and yet modern science popularisers like Neil deGrasse Tyson dismiss philosophy as largely irrelevant to scientific inquiry. In this article, philosopher and biologist Massimo Pigliucci sides with Einstein and argues for the importance of philosophy in making true scientific progress. Pigliucci, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, shows how Einstein's sophisticated philosophy, which transcended the rationalism-empiricism dichotomy, allowed him to break free of existing paradigms to revolutionise physics. When Einstein gazed at the universe, he didn't just see equations floating in abstract space. He saw a reality that existed independently of human thought, yet one that could be grasped through a delicate dance between reason and experience. In 1934, he crystallised this approach with remarkable clarity. Experience is the alpha and omega of all of our knowledge of reality. This deceptively simple statement encapsulates a profound revolution of how we understand knowledge, one that continues to reverberate across science and philosophy today. But what exactly did Einstein mean, and why does it matter? Einstein stands as perhaps the most transformative scientific mind of the modern era, yet his contributions to epistemology, the philosophical study of knowledge, remain underappreciated outside specialist circles, while contemporary physicists like Stephen Hawking and science popularisers like Neil deGrasse Tyson have dismissed philosophy as largely irrelevant to modern scientific inquiry. Einstein himself held the opposite view. He considered philosophical insight essential to genuine scientific progress and credited his own philosophical explorations with inspiring his theories that revolutionised physics. What made Einstein exceptional wasn't merely his mathematical brilliance or his imaginative thought experiments, but his deep appreciation for the intricate relationship between theoretical constructs and observable phenomena. Unlike many scientists who unreflectively adopt either a purely rationalist approach, privileging mathematical beauty and logical consistency, or alternatively a naive empiricism treating observation as straightforward and theory neutral, Einstein developed a sophisticated framework that acknowledged both the creative power of human reason and its necessary constraints in empirical reality. At a time when public trust in scientific expertise faces unprecedented challenges, from climate change denial to anti-vaccine movements, Einstein's nuanced understanding of scientific knowledge offers a valuable compass. His epistemology helps us navigate between the cilia of uncritical scientism that dismisses legitimate questions concerning the practice of science, and the charybdis, that's something to do with Lovecraftian stuff, I think, of radical skepticism that rejects scientific authority altogether. Einstein knew that scientific knowledge is neither absolute nor arbitrary, but rather a disciplined human endeavour to create conceptual systems that successfully coordinate with empirical evidence. Let us explore this Einsteinian middle path between pure reason and raw experience, a path that begins with ancient philosophical debates but leads us to distinctly modern understanding of knowledge and its limits. So the ancient battle, reason versus experience. The history of human thought has been marked by an enduring tension between two approaches to knowledge, rationalism and empiricism. Rationalists, from Pythagoras to Descartes, argued that human reason is the primary driver of the discovery of truths about the world. Pythagoras believed numbers constitute reality's fundamental nature, a position still attractive to some mathematicians today. The Eleatic school, led by Parmenides, distinguished between doxa, I hope I pronounced that correct, opinion based on appearances, and aletheia, which was my mum's name, truth accessed through rational inquiry, privileging the latter. Plato, influenced by Pythagorean mathematics, allegedly inscribed, "Let no one ignorant of geometry enter," at the gate of his academy, reflecting his belief that philosophical truth required mathematical certainty. This insistence on grounding philosophy in mathematical rigour represents what I have called Plato's error. Descartes established his famous cogito ergo sum, don't know if I said that right, I think therefore I am, as a foundation of knowledge after methodically doubting everything else. Yet his system ultimately suffered from a fatal flaw. Descartes had to appeal to a divine veracity to validate human reason, a move that compromised his entire epistemological framework, exposing pure rationalism's fundamental weakness. The empiricist tradition emerged as a counterpoint. Early empiricists like Thales and Miletus demonstrated the practical value of experience-based knowledge by predicting a solar eclipse in 585 BC and by successfully speculating in olive presses through meteorological forecasting. Who says philosophers can't make money? Aristotle's extensive biological investigations aligned him with empiricism, while the Stoics developed a more integrated approach, combining empirical observation of physics or physis, as it says there, nature, with logical analysis. Francis Bacon advanced empirical methodology in the 17th century, which Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, John Berkeley and David Hume later refined into a comprehensive epistemological framework. Hume's sceptical empiricism ultimately prompted Kant's philosophical awakening, leading to transcendental idealism, a synthesis challenging both rationalist and empiricist approaches as fundamentally limited. Einstein's epistemological revolution. Einstein rejected pure rationalism outright, arguing that by itself abstract thought could only generate logical mathematical construct, distinct from knowledge about reality. He stated unequivocally, propositions arrived at by purely logical means are completely empty as regards reality. Axiomatic systems, including mathematics and logic, as such, Einstein says, cannot predicate anything about objects of our intuition or real objects. For Einstein, the world out there exists independently of the human mind, which is precisely why it cannot be grasped through thinking alone. Reality remains accessible to human understanding, but through a synthesis of experience and analysis rather than through pure axiomatic reasoning. Einstein viewed logical and mathematical systems as human constructs analogous to linguistic systems. While logic, mathematics help us organise empirical knowledge, they cannot substitute for experiential understanding. This position explicitly rejects the Pythagorean Platonic view of mathematical reality as somehow primary or more fundamental than physical reality. The history of science provides compelling evidence that axiomatic systems cannot independently reveal the nature of the world. Einstein noted that both Newtonian mechanics and relativity theory could accurately predict planetary positions despite fundamentally incompatible conceptual frameworks regarding space and time. Relativity theory superseded Newtonian mechanics through broader explanatory power and closer correspondence with empirical observations across phenomena. Einstein distinguished between axiomatic truth, requiring only internal coherence, and scientific truth, demanding empirical correspondence. Consider the proposition Saturn has rings. While grammatically coherent and semantically meaningful, its truth value depends entirely on empirical verification. Scientific theories must be internally logically coherent, but this represents not only a necessary, not sufficient. This represents only a necessary, not sufficient condition for their truth or verisimilitude. Beyond simple empiricism. Yet Einstein's emphasis on empirical verification doesn't indicate a purely empiricist stance. He explicitly rejected Francis Bacon's and John Stuart Mill's conception of science as fundamentally inductive, instead maintaining that scientific concepts transcend pure induction from experience. Acquisition of knowledge, as Einstein is quoted as saying, in the desired sense would be impossible through experience alone. Einstein went further. Even the great Newton could not free himself from this error of believing that theory comes inductively from experience. Einstein's epistemology posits knowledge as emerging from the synthesis of reason and experience, each insufficient in isolation. His conception transcends simple correspondence theory. While an observational statement like Saturn has rings depends on direct correspondence with reality, scientific theories demand a more complex framework. Once we move from statements of fact to theories, we need conceptual tools, those axiomatic inventions of the human mind we call logic and mathematics. Einstein understood scientific truth as coordination possibility between theoretical frameworks and empirical evidence, challenging both purely mathematical approaches to theory construction, exemplified nowadays by string theory, for example, and the excessive empiricism characteristic of 19th century science. Science succeeds because it invents systems of concepts, theories that are constrained by, but not derived from, experience. This framework, among other things, reveals fundamental limitations in contemporary analytic metaphysics, where conceptual systems operate without empirical constraints, guided only by abstract notions of plausibility and conceivability. Such methodological freedom permits the construction of logically consistent but empirically ungrounded frameworks, exemplified by concepts like philosophical zombies and panphysics. I don't even know what that says. Panpsychism, of which the best that can be said is that they are not even wrong. Puzzle of reality. Einstein elegantly described theoretical construction. The essential thing is the aim to represent the multitude of concepts and propositions, which themselves can be chosen freely, axioms. The liberty of choice, however, is a special kind. It's not in any way similar to the liberty of a writer of fiction. Rather, it's similar to that of a man engaged in solving a well-designed word puzzle. He may, it is true, propose any word as the solution, but there is only one word which really solves the puzzle in all its parts. In this analogy, modern analytical philosophers resemble fiction writers more than puzzle solvers, creating coherent systems that lack any meaningful connection to empirical reality. Empirical constraints differ from complete determination. Multiple theories may satisfy existing evidence, a condition known as underdetermination. Resolution often depends on theoretical refinement and additional empirical evidence. Einstein illustrates this principle through chess, where multiple valid strategies exist within established constraints. Violating these constraints fundamentally alters the nature of the activity. One's no longer playing chess, but some other game entirely. Einstein's framework reveals a frequent fundamental methodological error in theoretical physics, introducing theoretical concepts lacking empirical correspondence. For instance, Newton assumed absolute space and time and distinguished between gravitational and inertial mass, assumptions unsupported by experience and consequently theoretically unnecessary. Einstein's relevance to modern science, pseudoscience debates. Einstein's epistemological framework offers powerful insights for navigating today's contentious public debates about science, from vaccine safety and climate change to alternative medicine and conspiracy theories. His synthesis of rational analysis and empirical evidence provides a crucial lens for distinguishing genuine science from pseudoscience. Consider vaccine hesitancy, which often stems from privileging isolated anecdotes over systematic evidence or invoking theoretical mechanisms without empirical support. Einstein's emphasis on the coordination possibility between theory and evidence would recognise that legitimate scientific concerns about vaccines must demonstrate both theoretical plausibility and empirical correspondence. The overwhelming safety record of vaccines represents precisely the kind of empirical constraint that legitimate scientific theories must acknowledge. Similarly, climate change denial frequently employs the rationalist error of constructing elaborate alternative explanations while systematically ignoring the vast empirical evidence supporting the notion of anthropogenic climate change. From Einstein's perspective, specific legitimacy requires theories that not only maintain internal coherence but also account for the full range of available evidence. Climate science succeeds because its theoretical frameworks continuously refined in response to new empirical data, creating an increasingly robust coordination possibility. The distinction mentioned above between chess with its constraints and fiction writing with its freedom also illuminates how pseudoscience operates. Pseudoscientific approaches preserve the superficial appearance of scientific methodology while violating its fundamental constraints, like claiming to play chess while ignoring the rules governing the movements of the various pieces. When alternative medicine proponents, for instance, selectively cite supportive evidence and at the same time dismiss contradictory findings, they violate the empirical constraints central to genuine scientific inquiry. Perhaps most importantly, Einstein's framework helps us to understand why simply presenting more evidence often fails to resolve these debates. If knowledge emerges from the synthesis of theoretical frameworks and empirical evidence, then meaningful scientific communication must address both components. Climate scientists must explain not just the evidence for warming, but also the theoretical frameworks that make this evidence meaningful. Vaccine advocates must articulate not just safety statistics, but the biological mechanisms that make adverse reactions exceedingly rare. These are challenging goals for any science communicator. Einstein reminds us that science is neither pure deduction from first principles nor mere collection of observational data. It represents a disciplined, constrained form of human creativity, one that must maintain fidelity to empirical reality while employing rational structures to organise and interpret that reality. In our post-truth era, this balanced epistemological approach offers a path beyond both naive empiricism and ungrounded theorising. The unity of inquiry. Perhaps most profoundly, Einstein himself acknowledged that he wouldn't have come to the solution of the problem solved by relativity without those philosophical studies. His interest in epistemology was justified by its impact on physics. His work demonstrates philosophy's relevance to other fields. Without philosophical thought, Einstein claimed he would have contributed nothing to science. Science and philosophy represent complementary approaches within the broader pursuit of rational and empirical understanding, what classical thinkers termed scientia. Progress in human understanding requires transcending artificial disciplinary boundaries and recognising the fundamental unity of systematic inquiry. Einstein's epistemological insights remind us that the deepest scientific progress often emerges precisely at the intersection of philosophical reflection and empirical investigation. Without evidence, there is indeed no knowledge, but without conceptual frameworks to organise and interpret that evidence, we remain blind to its deepest implications. If you don't reckon that's one of the best articles about philosophical thought and science that you've heard this week, then then you and me have got different opinions, but it's lunchtime now. I'm going to go and have some lunch. It's Monday afternoon and I've made a 20-minute vlog, and I've still not had a shower and a shave. You can sort of see my 5 o'clock shadow. I hope you enjoyed that, and whoever you are, wherever you are, watching this video. I wish you all the best for the week ahead. Thanks.